So to everyone that you haven't, if I haven't met you before, my name's Jock Lawrence. I'm the founder of Mobble. Started Mobble about 6 years ago now, and I come from a multi-generational sheep farm in North Central Victoria. And yeah, I started Mobble back when my dad and I were looking for a simpler way to record all our farm and livestock records, and we couldn't find a flexible, easy enough solution out there. So we came up with Mobble, and since then. 5 years later, it's now used by about 3,000 farmers and their partners globally, majority in Australia and NZ, and we're growing in other parts of the world at the moment too, which is very exciting. Um, so just a bit of background. Our whole reason for being is to provide a place for farmers like you to manage your data, record keeping, animal health, mapping, all that and more. We don't claim to do everything. That's not our aim, but we're here. What we do is simple and effective, giving you more time to get on with the parts of the farming or life you're passionate about. Now, we put everyone on mute to start with, and you keep you guys on mute for now. Just to note so there's no disruptions or background noise. But if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat, as I said before. As we go through, that'd be great, and we'll make sure we'll answer all the questions towards the end. So I think 90% of you here today are either trialing Mobble or have used Mobble before or use Mobble currently. So what we'll do is with this webinar, we'll aim to talk about some of the ways that you can boost your productivity and effectiveness with the use of Mobble. So I'll be doing a sort of a general demo of Mobble, but also running through some different parts of Mobble, and hopefully you'll walk away with a bunch of new skills of how to use it a bit more effectively. So that'd be the aim. So yeah, but for the people that are new to Mobble and haven't trialed it and are just here for a bit of a sticky beak and to see what it's all about, we will go through sort of a general demo as well. So so it'll all be covered within today. We aim to keep it under 45 minutes so we can all go back to our evenings nice and quickly. And throughout the session, I'll be sharing my screen and I'll be doing a demo on my parents' farm. We're based in North Central Victoria, as I said before. Got a couple of blocks there, and yeah, I'll sort of demo what's happening on the farm at the moment, so you can all have a sticky beak what's happening on my parents' farm. So I got my two brothers working there, my dad and my mum and a worker. So sort of the size of it there. Yeah, righto. So yeah, and as I go through the demo, feel free to just use the chat to ask questions. Be quite ad hoc, and I'll be watching the chat as we go. So hopefully I can pick up some questions here and there. I think that's pretty good for the intro. And this is our first ever webinar as well, so it might be a bit rusty, but we'll see how we go. No hiccups yet. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Just give me one moment. Just got to shuffle things around. All right. All right, thumbs up if you can see my screen. Sweet, awesome. Thanks, team. All right, so Mobble. So yeah, Mobble is all about keeping your farm records all in one place, and we're all about making farmers' lives easier and more successful with everything we do there. It's a nice, simple application. Hopefully, you found that way, and you can use it out in the paddock. So we have two apps. We have the web app for the computer, this one, and we also have the mobile application for out in the paddock. It also works offline as well. But I'll do it most of the demo in the web application. And yeah, but both the apps are very, very similar. So yeah, you should be able to translate between the two. So I'll kick things off. So with Mobble, I'm going to do a general demo to start with, and then I'll sort of get into more hacks and stuff and how we can use Mobble more effectively. So there's three main ways to view Mobble. So you've got the property map, which is a great just visual way to view the property and stuff like that. You can view your property via mobs as well. And you can view property via paddocks. And there's in each page, you can do most of the main functions in Mobble through each page. There's different ways to get there, but on each pages they have their advantages. But we'll stick with the map page for now because that is the most visual to get a good grasp of the whole property. All right, so with Mobble, with recording things on paddocks and mobs mainly. So with your mobs, I click on this paddock here. I can see that I've got some Angus heifers and merino ewes in here. And what we're recording on animals is we're doing a full livestock reconciliation. So we're doing sales, purchases, casualties, um, and, and natural increases as well. So as you add livestock in, we're reporting on these over time. And at the end of the day, you get a full livestock reconciliation for your accounting as well. We're doing all your animal health records. So these little red dots here, you can see, that means this mob is currently in a withholding period. So we can go into that mob and we can see its complete history forever. Oops, sorry. Complete history forever. And I can see the drench action here that my brother Todd's applied a little while ago on the 19th, I think it was, on the 13th, sorry. And the inventory items that have been applied to that drench action. For those of you that use Mobble, you can do bulk actions. It saves a lot of time. So as you can see, Todd's done an action to all the ewes in the property. And that saves a lot of time. So to do that, and I might just get into hacks straight away because why not? To do that, so you have to first create an action on one of the mobs. So let's pretend we're drenching these merino wethers, and you add a mob action here, and the forms are the same on the mobile and the web. And where it says merino wethers here, actually the top section here with a drop down, you can select nearly any single mob, and it's pretty good. You can just search, say, all merino wethers, and you just go through and select all those mobs like that. And yeah, you can do that action in one go instead of several goes, and you add products to that. Also, when you're doing, so drench record here, for example, I know that some people also, because Mobble's quite flexible, so you can sort of bend it to your own operation. And you can add your own mob action types in here. So some people even like to say, I don't know, so branding or something like that. And maybe that during branding, there's several different, so I know I'm showing sheep and I'm saying branding, but I'm trying to be inclusive for both cattle and sheep. Yeah, maybe doing several different applications at once. So you might want to add several products to that same one. And you can, yeah, so you can add in, a vaccination and a drench or whatever those are, all in the one action. And that'll just save you a fair bit of time. Other things on Mobble. So going back to what we're recording, what information we're recording, we're also recording lots of information on paddocks. So when you click on a paddock, you can see key things like how many days grazed that paddocks have been grazed, DT per hectares over time, as well. And FYI for the cattle people there, we will change the units, so there's LSU and AE units as well, but it's just not quite there yet. And you record basic cropping records in here as well. So you can add a paddock action and you can do spray records and add your products to that spray record for compliance and for your own record as well. And when that spray record's applied, that paddock will pop up in red. So you'll see the withhold on that paddock. And it reminds you not to move sheep in there as well. And like on a paddock, like on a mob and a paddock, you can click on the paddock's info and you get the full history of this paddock forever. And you can filter that down to see recent or search certain things like spray records and stuff like that. And you'll be able to see those spray records in there. Set of livestock in them. And we're also recording things. So this is specific to the web application where we graph things out over time. So you can see your historic livestock numbers within a paddock over time. And some cool things here, like you can see the stocking rate, and you can see the stocking rate for this in 2024 in this paddock. And this red line is actually the average stocking rate for this paddock, a rolling 12-month average, which is a handy figure. It kind of shows you how well that paddock's been performing. So earlier this year, the paddock was less stocked over that 12-month period, and later this year it's become more heavily stocked over a 12-month period. So it's just an interesting piece of data for you guys to sort of manage or view over time. And yeah, and another little interesting hack is you can for that DSE per hectare average, or that stocking rate unit per hectare average, you can actually view it and order it on the paddock page on the web app. So I can order that, and you can see your highest performing paddocks versus your lowest performing paddocks. And for us at home, these baldy and eagle hawk paddocks, I know they're very hilly paddocks and they don't produce as much as these high performing paddocks in the flats. So that makes a lot of sense. I'll go back to the map. So as I keep on digressing, but yeah, so other things you can record within Mobble. So you got your full farm mapping here. So you can record, you're obviously mapping everything out, is your paddocks and stuff like that. And we've recently released a feature on the web app that allows you to choose your satellite imagery. So the map box imagery that we originally have is kind of a bit outdated in a lot of parts of Australia. And we've put in these two new providers as well. This one's called HereMap. HereMap do a lot of the four-wheel drive mapping in Australia, actually. And this one for our farm is a lot more updated. We've got these turbines that we can now see in these ones, which are more, only a couple of years old. So when you're going in to map out your paddocks for the first time, second time, you can now choose that imagery so you can better see where your strainer posts are when you zoom in and add that paddock in as such. Also, if you're just getting started, you're trialing Mobble and you're just getting started and you're mapping out your place for the first time, this little snap to boundary is a handy feature. So basically, if I get anywhere near the boundary, it should, yeah, there we go, snap to it as you go around. So yeah, that's just a little tip there as you're mapping it out. All right, so other things you can map. You can map out task locations, and you can map out all your map assets farm assets as well. So task locations is like this. If you press the big plus button on your phone or on the computer, you can add a task to the map. Now, my old man loves to add, he adds in sort of, he goes past a weed patch and something like that. So you'll put a reminder in that there's, some horehound there or some bird that needs to be dealt with eventually. And there's a bit of a reminder. So when they go around and do spraying, they know where those patches are. But you can use it for anything. You could use it for a task location on a fence line, for a hole in the fence, for example. And at least when you go past that, that job, it's recorded there, and you can go back to it, not forget about it, or you can send someone else out there to do it. Or they'll be able to see it when they're passing that fence next, and then maybe they'll have a pair of pliers. So it's just displaying that information on the property. Yeah, so other mapping things. So I did notice that people wanted to know more about mapping in some of the feedback they gave us before they came into the session. Other things that we can map are map assets. So this is relatively new in the last year or so. You can map things like your bore locations, trough locations, pipelines, and there's a giant list of things here you can map. And we've also got these other line and other points. So you can literally map really anything that you want to. This is great if you have employees or contractors that come onto the place, because they can see and find those farm assets they might need to as well. So yeah, just a quick note there. All right. So what else can we do in Mobble? I might move to some of the hacks that I've got listed I wanted to cover. I've got a question coming in from Gino. Thank you. How do we add landmarking numbers or branding numbers or weeding numbers? So the way we do this at home, so I might just try and find a mob. Here we go. Perfect. So we've got some first cross U's here. I'll mention a few things here. There's a couple of hacks I want to mention at once. So these first cross U's here, we've classed them as twins. Classing mobs is a really powerful thing in Mobble. It's really flexible as well. So you can class them any way you want. You can have multiple classes as well. So for us, we often have a top line of sheep or firsts, and we'll have them scanned as singles, twins, dries as well. And depending on your operation, you might want to add, different kind of classes as well. So, and that could be literally anything you want, who you bought your livestock from, or Yeah, it could be anything. So heavies, lights, as an example, different weight ranges. And the cool thing with classes is we're tracking this. We're taking snapshots of your farm every single day, and you'll be able to see, how many, for this example, how many first cross ewes that were in twin a year ago. And that's all comes back to our livestock reconciliation reports, which you'll probably just get to in a second. So that's classes. Now I've lost my position on the map. Now, adding in natural increases or lambs or calves, the best way to do that is add a new mob. So you can see here that these are second cross mixed sex lambs off these ewes, and these have just been added as a new mob. So all you do at landmarking time when you've got that count of numbers, or branding time or weaning time or whenever it is that you get the numbers properly, you either go into the paddock and add it, or you can add it by the plus button, add mob, and you press and you select natural increase here. Select the paddock they're from, livestock type, and so on. And then the next page, you'll get an option to leave a note as well and create a natural increase record. And that natural increase record will be put into the summaries. Down like things like percentages, percentage versus how many ewes there were. So as an example, and we're tracking that against the paddock as well. So yeah, that's how you add in your natural increases. Yeah. Thanks, Gina. All right, cool. All right, I'll come back to the map. So I was mentioning before how you can add tasks into the map, and one of the reasons the map is really powerful, we've actually released a feature where you can add contractors into the map as well. So if you've got spraying contractors, fencing contractors, mustering contractors, helicopter mustering contractors as well, who get added to Mobble a bit up north, which is pretty cool. You can literally give them a map view, and add tasks to those contractors, and they'll be able to see the location they are on the map on the phone. And yeah, that's just a cool way to be able to, instead of printing off a map, you can literally add them straight into Mobble and get the job done that way. So the way you do that is you go into settings. There's this area called Mobble Connect, and there's all these different access that you can give different people. A lot of people have added in their account at the end of financial year. That gives them access to our livestock reconciliation report, and the contractor view and the farm advisor views are probably the next two most used views. The farm advisor view is a full view of the property for your agronomist or whatnot. Yeah, so that's that. All right. What else did I want to cover? I might, if there's questions, I might answer a few questions and sort of go a bit more ad hoc. And we can put the questions in the chat and go from there.
There was a question earlier, Jock, about natural increase and the best practice for adding that within Mobble when you have new offspring.
Yeah, I did just cover that one. So that was to do with adding in your lambs or your calves. And the best way to do that is by adding a new mob, selecting natural increase and going that way. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. And then in summaries, so you get a summary in everything you're recording. So if I go to natural increases, you'll see every single natural increase on the place. And then you can add things in, like maybe the percentage in the notes and stuff like that too, if that's of interest. Yeah. I'll flick to a different property to get a different view. Moving mobs and stuff in Mobble is really, really easy. You just click and drag like that. That mob's moved, and Yeah, and then also like we've got a feature here where you can open gates between properties. So what's happening here is basically the we open the gates between the properties and let the data kind of flows between the two paddocks. And you sort of get an average between the how many livestock are in each, and that sort of helps with the reporting on that. Someone's asking how to draw a pipeline. That's really simple. So it's easy to do on the computer. You can also do it out in the paddock if you wanted to do it out in the paddock and get your GPS location to do that. Basically, to add a pipeline in, you'll zoom into an area where the pipeline is. Um, you'll add a map asset, and you'll select here pipeline. And yeah, you basically just go along the way where that pipeline is located, like such, to the trough locations or bore locations is. To finish the drawing, you have to double click like that, and then we can just add that asset into the map. You have to give it a name. So North Pipeline. And that'll be saved. It's where map can get pretty messy pretty quick if you start adding in heaps and heaps of map assets. So some people might add all their troughs, all their dams, for example. It's very easy to flick on and off what you can see. So here with map assets, I can turn off, say, I don't want to see the dams for my map, and that'll remember that as well. So it won't show the dams until you turn it back on. So for pipelines, you might add heaps of pipelines in there that you might not want to see all the time. So you can turn that one off until you need them. I need them again. So that's just worth noting as well. If you're like planning pipelines and stuff like that, the measuring tool's great. So you can open this measuring tool up and have a bit of and you can work out, double click to finish and work out the distances of that pipeline or whatever infrastructure that you're building, fence line as well. And that's great out in the paddock because you get that GPS location on you at all times. All right, so we've got one from Anthony here asking about merging mobs and trying to split them back out to individual age groups. This is a great one. So I think compared to some other systems, Mobble's really good at being able to merge mobs together and split them off. So an example, and I'm going to use a sheep example. Sorry, cattle people, just because my family is majority sheep, but we're at scanning time when we're scanning the ewes, we often box all the ewes together and then we'll split them back off into their separate paddocks. And the way we do that, I've got a really good trick here. So the one way we can do that really quickly is we can move this is only available the computer app, but we can select all the ewes we want to merge together. And we actually move all those mobs at once to one location. So I would select yard, but I'm not going to do it because this is a live property, but I would select yard and it'll give me the option to merge all those ewes together. Now it's worth noting you can only merge things that have the same breed and gender. Yeah, so if you have Angus cows and your Brahman cows, you can't merge them together because they're they've got a different breed, as an example. Merge them all together, and then once they're merged, and let's just pretend we'll go back to the previous page. Let's just pretend this is a giant mob of ewes here. We can move that mob back out to a paddock. So let's go pretend we're moving them to Baldy paddock here, and you split them. So let's say we've got 100 splitting off and we're reclassing them. So you can and they've got the option to reclass here. So these are actually classed as twins, for example. And then you can split off that 100 and leave that 128 behind and split them off into another paddock as you go. So hopefully it's pretty fluid. I don't know if someone's having issues with merging. I've mentioned, looks like someone had an issue with merging. But if you've had issues with merging, just get in touch with us at hull@mobble.io, the email maybe, or give us a call, and we'll try and fix that for your individual issue. I reckon might be the go. All right, I've got another question here. Yeah, the way you explained adding a mob for natural increases, can you only do that once you've got the final number of calves or lambs? Or is there a suggested method for tracking birds and adding numbers as they increase? Yeah, it's a good question. So a lot of people like to add in, calf and lamb deaths out in the paddock. And so what we need to do is we need to make sort of a placeholder mob. So we have to have a best guess. So when it comes to adding in your natural increase, you might want to add in a couple hundred lambs to this mob before you even know the numbers, just so then you can start reporting casualties on those lambs, and then you'll get a nice summaries per paddock of how many casualties there've been. Yeah, it's just due to the way of farming, just the way of life. So that might be a good hack. And if you do use that method, you're gonna have to go back, and when you actually get the correct number, you're going to have to change this number. You have to edit this number to the correct number that you've got. And you will also have to go into the summary of the natural increase and change that number as well. And that won't affect the other numbers. So it's very flexible and editable like that. So hopefully that solves that problem in particular. Yeah. Yeah. So this bulk mob moving, it can be pretty handy. All right, more questions. How do you reset things? Paddock days, grays, mob numbers, and locations, incorrect mob descriptions. All right. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not 100% sure what that's after. Adrian, do you want to go off mute and explain that question a bit further?
Yeah, look, I'm only a beginner here, but we've had different people use Mobble in the short time we've had it, and some of the things set up are probably weren't set up the best way they could have been, and so we just want to go back and change things without undoing things and causing problems, I guess. And so we'll have basically wrong mob numbers and mob descriptions, and even as I look here, I see you've got paddocks days grazed. Well, how do we reset that? Because I've got one here that's got 405 days grazed. Well, that goes back quite a way, and just don't know how to. Is there a simple way just to undo things and start again, basically?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you haven't used it in a while, and you want to update everything, kind of thing. Is that
Yeah,
perhaps what's
basically, yeah.
happening? Yeah, cool.
I mean, it probably hasn't been kept with a running balance right through, you see.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to reset is literally start using it properly from a certain date, and then the records will become accurate. So as soon as you move a mob out of that, that 400 days grazed, it'll reset to 0, and then you can start going from there. And with editing numbers and stuff like that, it's just diving straight in, editing that mob directly, like editing that number. You can't backdate those numbers, but I think it's best just to just start clean, get all your numbers right, get them in the right paddocks, and then there's a certain date where you're starting to do things correctly, and from there you can try to move forward, and keep those records up to date. So unfortunately, there's no easy way to change that data backdated, I guess. Yeah, just the nature of how the data is recorded, but yeah, starting clean and moving forward from there is really the best way, Adrian. Yep. And it's worth noting, so I know there's been a bit of feedback with the days grazed and days rested counters. People have often asked to backdate these or correct them. So when you haven't moved the mob in the right time, you want to be able, sometimes you might want to change this number. some light at the end of the tunnel here. So we are looking into that this quarter, probably into the next quarter as well, of how to do that. So yeah, hopefully soon we'll be able to backdate these days grazed and days rested dumps as well. So yeah. All right. So there's been some people asking, and this is about sort of a database for chemicals and how to pre-fill the withholds of chemicals and stuff like that. I want to, during this demonstration, I want to highlight a new and upcoming feature that we've got coming out, which is live inventory, which sort of feeds into that. And it's got a heap of improvements to how the inventory works. So you guys will be literally the first farmers that have, outside of our very close testers that have seen this, and love to get your feedback. But basically, the way that the inventory is going to work now, so the inventory is for all of your animal health inventories, or it's for your herbicides, pesticides, and fertilizers, or your feed and grain and storage. The way that's going to work now is you'll have a inventory item list, and then you'll be able to add product to that list. So when it comes to having a database for, when you want to add in more product, the old Mobble, what it used to have to do is used to add in another 6-in-1 and then add in all the details again. And yeah, it would be quite time consuming, but now it's just a matter of clicking on the 6-in-1 here and adding another batch or adding more product to that 6-in-1. So that should save a lot of time. So it's just literally adding a batch, and it's just all you have to do here. You have to put a batch ID, but you can make it whatever if you don't know it on the day. Just a matter of putting a quantity in, adding that new batch, and that'll update the quantity in the total here. And you've got that batch attached to that 6-in-1 item here. Obviously, you wouldn't have 20 liters at once, but yeah, so that quantity is now going to be live as well. So as you use product, so if you're vaccinating your livestock, that product in the inventory is going to come down. And yeah, we think it's a really cool feature. So those are sort of the key main benefits towards it. We're also going to be able to graph that usage over time. So you can have a 12-month, this graph isn't quite right, I can tell yet, because we're still in test mode. But over a 12-month period, you'll be able to see how much of a product you've used over time. And we're going to roll this out first in chemicals. So that'll be animal health chemicals and paddock chemicals as well. And then we'll start rolling it out for the feed as well. So you can track how much, silage went out to the cattle over a year and stuff like that too, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so this is probably going to come out in the next week or so, given depending on our testing. So excited about that. I know that one of the beauties of Mobble is it's flexible and easy to use, and we hope what we've done is we've created a very sort of more of a high-tech feature here, but it's still the same easy to use product. And yeah, and if the quantity goes below 0, we're not going to restrict you from using that product. You can go negative, and you can refix that later at a later date if you want to. If you don't want to use the live inventory, you don't have to. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So that's a new feature coming out. So hopefully that's something that's interesting to you guys that use Mobble already. And yeah. Yeah. All right. What other questions do we have? Can you demonstrate how to use the GPS to mark out assets? I can't demonstrate how to use the GPS because I'm on a computer. That'll go to probably some weird place. But on the phone, basically, if you select go to your current position, it'll go to your current location. You go to your GPS location on the phone, and yeah, and you can zoom in to your GPS location. It'll be a little blue dot, and you'll be able to add in a task or whatever it is to that geolocation. You can do that online or offline as well. It's worth noting. The GPS stuff still works offline, and that offline request will be saved. So yeah, that's how you do that using the GPS location. You still have to literally click on your location, but you'll be able to see it. You have to make sure that GPS settings are turned on for Mobble. If that's not working, you'll be able to go to your settings and turn on your GPS settings for Mobble in your settings of your phone. Also, like it's worth noting, like all these questions that are coming through, we got an amazing customer service team, and a bunch of them are on the call right now. I can see Amy and Carly and Katie on the call. We have one centralized number for our customer success or customer support. Just texting questions through there was always someone at the other end of the line. I'll get someone to chuck it in the chat. Maybe I'll get Maddie or someone to chuck that number in the chat. You can always text that number for any questions, and everyone's very quick to respond, or calling that number as well. So you'll be able to get a response on a work day, 9 to 5, within half an hour. Someone will respond. So that's the number. This is the Australian number. There's also an NZ number as well on the website. Yeah. So yeah, no, they're an amazing team. So yeah, use that resource. It's also worth noting that we have a Facebook community. And it's a closed group of very passionate mobblers. And if you have Facebook, it's a great place to be. So what we do in that group is we often ask for feedback on certain things. It'll be the first place to see new and upcoming features. People will ask sort of questions of how to do stuff, and other farmers will respond. It's quite collaborative. And we find it a really useful resource just to get some more, feedback from you guys and keep making a product that you guys love. So I'd recommend add that in. Maddie's just, if you have Facebook, she's added that link up into the chat as well. Yeah, so yeah, that as well. So the other things, a couple of quick things on Mobble before I get off demoing it. The tasks can be really powerful for reminders. So you can add due dates, and reminders come up as notifications. That could be like a date in the future of calving or whatever it is. On the computer, and some people don't use the computer very often, I will show this reports page. So you can get a full livestock reconciliation breakdown on here. And that's showing you your livestock type, breed, gender, and the breakdown of those numbers, starting head 12 months ago or whatever date you want to choose, and a closing head, and your natural increases, purchases, casualties, and sold as well. And we have a breakdown in livestock sales as well. So yeah, I'm gonna stop demoing, and I'll open to the floor as well if anyone has any last minute questions. But yeah, I thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. This is our first ever one, so I felt very rusty giving that demo. But hopefully it was of some value to you guys. Yeah. All right, so we have a couple of questions coming in still. All right, so from Murray, can you attach documents, e.g. AHS, feed, test, etc., to animal and feed purchases? This is great feedback right now. So we're sort of scoping out the future of Mobble as we go forward, and we want to be able to upload documents to certain parts of the app. So for example, a sales record, having the NVD there, or even the sale record itself to a sales record, like via a PDF. And just becoming more of a central place for those farm records. That's one example. So attaching, sort of AHS or feed test to animal and feed purchases is definitely something that we can look into now that we're looking into having the ability to upload files. So yeah, keep that feedback coming, because through to our emails and through to our phone numbers, because we're scoping that work out now. So probably a long way away, probably 6 months away or something. But yeah, something to look forward to down the track. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen someone's asked about a calendar. So we often get feedback a calendar would be a very good feature in Mobble, as every farm has a planning calendar. At the moment we have a tasks list. You can put dates in those tasks, which isn't as visual as the calendar, but it's very valid feedback, and we'll take that on board and continue to consider that in the future. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'd really like to thank everyone for coming in for our first little demo or first webinar. We'll keep on improving these as we go. And we do, in the future webinars, we do plan to have guest speakers and stuff as well. Next month, we have Farm Focus, which is a New Zealand accounting software. So we'll keep updating. Every month we'll send out what's happening in the next webinar. And it will be a place for you to see upcoming features and feature demos as well. So yeah, maybe come back if you want, and really appreciate your time, and really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Cheers.